Welcome to the Miniatures Paintbrush. Today we're going to finish up our project with the Spirit Host by including some cool basing.
Alrighty, so we're going to start out with milliput, but we're just spacing out where you want your items to be. I usually use poster tack to kind of tack it down to have an idea of where I want things to be. So we're starting with some milliput, and you're going to cut some off with a hobby knife. You got to knead it together in order to make both sides of the epoxy come out, activate, along with the water. I have some road gravel over here that I picked up, and I do have a lot of sculpting tools in case I ever wanted to mold or you ever wanted to mold into anything else. Those are like rubber tips on it. So now I'm setting in the miniature, just guidelining where things are going to be. I'm trying to get a mound in which the skeleton is trying to crawl out of. And seem like, there's this big old dirt burial mound, and there it is with the tombstone in the front. I dipped the entire miniature, the base, in water. I kind of took it apart, and I'm playing with it, and I'm not really a big proponent of getting my hands wet, but with milliput, it seems to be the case. You have to get it wet. And you keep on shaping it with these tools. And you can get these tools from, well, these plastic ones that I'm using here, any hobby store, your Hobby Lobby, AC Moore will do fine. But for the more advanced ones, I went on to Amazon. So I have some white glue here, pouring that into the mix, and I'm trying something new here. I'm trying to use that with a baking soda, so it would have this dusty layer of gook or soot that you put onto your base once it dries. And you could add colors to these things, to the soot, if you want to. I kind of was thinking possibly a little transparent here, but I was playing around. I put some gravel in there too, just to see what it's like. Glue on some pieces of gravel or larger pieces to simulate larger rocks, using super glue here to put those down. Just to have different dimensions and smaller pieces on the mound itself, just to see like the earth was, well, it was unearthed, and some of the gravel kind of came up, or rocks came up, and try to simulate that. And then what I did was take this mixture of glue and kind of put it all the way around and kind of make it dusty all the way around and have that coat. Again, what I'm trying to do is add layers. I want it to appear to be multi-layered, as if I kind of gutted everything out from the actual base, and it has all these layers to it, so it looks like I gutted it, but I didn't. And I'm going to have to wait for all this stuff to dry. There it is, dried. I also did a base coat of brown on there, and then I set the miniatures in afterwards. Looking pretty good. I use Rust-Oleum. It has double cover and it bonds to plastic as well. I really like that. Krylon is used as well, but this time when I went into the store, they didn't have Krylon, but they do have the Rust-Oleum. So, and it dries really flat, and it's great for the application of using miniatures. So here are all the pieces. I detailed Nagash. Seemed like the weary traveler trying to summon Nagash, and got more than what he was bargaining for. That poor summoner there. Now, this piece, the way it is, I didn't like the way the rocks are there, but I still had some of the mounds and some of the levels that you see with the milliput and the rocks. It's very, very sturdy. Everything came out really, really sturdy. So milliput is something you use. Green stuff is another thing that you can use for a two-part epoxy. I really like the details that came out with the tombstones. I was playing around with that as well. But if you look at all the details, the big rocks really, really play an important part. Again, everything is just base coated right now. I'm really appreciating where everything is, just trying to get a feel for it, see if I need to add to it. Yep. So, starting out with one base, I'm going to use techniques that you can use for all the bases as well. Now I'm going to shade and use different shades. I use non-oil and Agrax Earth shade in combination with that brown Rust-Oleum, and it gives it more colors. Now I'm trying to give it depth with colors. For stones, I like to use grays. You can use any gray to really highlight that. I use a concrete slab here with some dusty stone and some raven black. That's kind of the triple threat there. It's just going from a really dark to a medium to a very light. Those three tones just for dry brushing on base coating on the rocks itself do help. But remember, it doesn't matter what you use at this point. You can even use craft paints as well. But I use the Minotaur there. I bought a set, so I have plenty of that. I kind of enjoy using it. You really get a feel for each color and for the texture. Here's a Kolinsky, a sable brush. Actually, that's red sable. I have a Kolinsky as well. So I'm experimenting with some new brushes here. Important thing about brush, you don't want the paint to creep up into the ferrule. That's that metal piece. Because once it does that, and it dries in there, it kind of separates the bristles and kind of ruins your brush. So you have to be careful with that. So here I am, simply putting a wash on the stones, the rocks, the surrounding areas, places that I want more shadow into it, and that's with the non-oil. Non-oil is black. It's from Citadel Paints. That's the same brand that this miniature comes from. That little pot right there is about $10, maybe a little more. And I'll tell you, when it comes to shading, I really do like the shading, the effects that this shade puts onto the miniature and the way it dries. It's really nice. You have to be really, really careful with these pots. They're notorious for flipping over. So if you're painting with them, I would recommend you put them on something, maybe some poster tack, and put them on a larger base, or just make sure they're stable. I've seen rings around certain one of them just to keep it stable. I kind of try to keep it far away from me. I've already had one spill accident, and I need to get another Agrax Earth shade and a sepia. So I've had my fair share of accidents. Be very careful when you're using them. But for an overarching kind of toning things down, it really does a great job to do that. Kind of blends in the colors together. I can't rave enough about Citadel shades. I really do enjoy working with them. So here I'm just pushing the shade around, and that's what you do with bases. You kind of want to pull it where you want it to be a little bit darker, and fan it out where you want it to be lighter within the base. This looks like a great, fantastic muddy base, and I apply this technique to all of them, and I'm just experimenting like everything. Painting is an adventure for me. So, every miniature is a new technique that I learn, and I kind of try to replicate throughout. So this part is pretty much done, and I'm going to need that to dry before I move on to the next section. Looking really, really sweet here. Okay, cleaning my brush here, and on to the next section. Now that it's dry, time to do some detailing with the rocks, and kind of want to make it a little different from the tombstone. So I was using all these colors here. So it's a really dark gray into a lighter gray, from raven black, dusty ground, concrete slab. Yeah, just a variant of colors there. And here we are dry brushing. And when I like to dry brush, I kind of put it onto either a palette, or here I'm putting it onto a napkin. Just really, really dry and dusty, and I'm just trying to cover just the rock areas. Kind of want to get it away from everything else. Simply just the rock areas. And it's important um, because you don't want the same texture of the rocks as the ground. You kind of want that separation of dirt and rock. So having that contrast. And we slowly kind of build things up, which is how I usually paint. I usually paint in really thin shades. Although here with dry brushing, it's quite the opposite from getting highly liquefied shades of or tones of a color, and as you slowly layer and layer and build up to the point where you get that contrast slowly and more control. Over here is just dry brushing, which when it comes to control, I like to even control it to the point where I'm just laying down and being very careful where I'm laying down the paints. So here's where brush control takes precedence. Yep, so what I do is I do all the gravel pieces, every single one of them, slowly, and I take my time and I enjoyed myself doing each piece. Okay, on to the next section. So there it is. I put little highlights of some gray in there. Here's some Pegasus bricks. What I thought here is I want to kind of build up a wall because I thought it was kind of plain. And all I did was just lay bricks down in any kind of pattern. I kind of like put one hanging over. I used super glue to put them in. I put them all for all three. No particular pattern, just like a wall kind of fell apart. And what I'm going to do is base coat them with the black Steiner Res first. And I'm going to use the kind of techniques that I used for the rocks. And this time I'm using a palette instead of using the napkins. And again, being really, really careful, use that brush control. You see, I notice I put my finger on the base itself, my middle finger onto the base itself to brace it. Move another model out of the way there. And just to get in there when I can. It's important to kind of brace your hands, especially when you're looking for that control. There's that finger touching that base, leading my index finger and my thumb to go into every crease and every crevice. I do want to apologize with the camera if I'm going a little bit too high. Again, the first time I'm trying to get used to this angle in the camera. The camera's kind of in front of me, so I kind of hug the camera to actually paint. So I do apologize if it does get out of frame from here or there. This is a great hobby. I really, really do enjoy the hobby. It's been years since I've painted, and now to have this little studio set up is amazing, and to be able to share it with you guys, really, no words can explain how grateful I am that you're actually watching this. I'm doing this more for myself every day after either work, when I can after work. There's a lot of responsibilities, especially when you get older. You get a lot of responsibilities, and they always take precedence. But I get the chance to play like I'm a kid again, so that's pretty cool. By playing with these miniatures, and I really do appreciate that you're along for the ride. And so I try to paint all the bricks for all of them, and I'm doing them the exact same way. And it's kind of important that if you're painting a group of miniatures and they have the same exact theme, that you kind of like assembly line them. And what I mean by that is like you start painting one, and then you move on to the next one with the exact same paints. And when you are painting, if you want to have a theme for your army, I can't stress this enough, and you have several pieces that have the same theme, you want to write down what you did. Because there are so many different steps and things that you discover along this journey of painting a miniature. And if the effect looks really cool, you kind of want to replicate it throughout your themed army. So you have that same consistency throughout all of them, and it kind of ties them all in together. Nope, drop that there. I'll tell you, I'm pretty clumsy for someone who thought that I have brush control and everything. I kind of like drop my miniatures quite a few times. I really try not to, but I guess I'm a little clumsy. These miniatures hold up really well. Okay, so when I'm painting, I usually put a Liquitex Slow Dry, 10 to 1 with water, and that means 1 drop of Liquitex Slow Dry. I'm sorry, Flow Aid. Huh. I use Slow Dry with an airbrush. I use Flow Aid when I'm painting. And I'll just put that also 10 to 1 with water. And I just dip my brush in there. You see I have two things there. Two little creases there filled with liquid. The first one is with that mixture 10 to 1 with Flow Aid and water. And the second one is the paint itself. This one is the Stylorez. I guess foundation paint there. Base paint. And using that Flow Aid, I've noticed that when I do paint, especially when I paint opaque, which means that it's just a solid color, and I kind of don't want it transparent, that there's less chances to leave brush strokes, which has plagued me as a painter for many years until I used the right material to help me, and until I discovered how to paint in a manner in which you take your time and really try to rush it. The biggest enemy of this hobby is impatience, because when you're impatient, you kind of rush something. Mistakes do happen, and if you're going for tabletop quality, hey, that's not a problem, really. As long as you can see it on the table and it looks cool from there, that's kind of cool. But for me, I kind of want to look up close and look at all the details and have fun with it that way. So I'll take the time. Alright, let's see what we have here. So now everything is dry. I dry brushed the bricks on the wall. It's really looking great and coming together. Really love it. I love all of these pieces. I really enjoy putting together each one of these pieces. But there it is. That's the base of the base. The base of the base. That is the beginning of before I flock everything and get everything ready with that, which is coming up next. Alright, so now it's time for flocking. I used kitty litter on this one, yes, meow meow, not the one with the liquid crystals or the fancy ones. I kind of use really basic kitty litter. The cheaper, the better, actually. I think I got that one at Dollar General. Here I am putting white glue. And I add some water into that. I always try to dilute the glue itself, just so that it's more manageable. If it's too liquidy, it would be runny. I don't want that. I just want it loosen up. I take this brush that I got. I believe it was AC Moore for this one. If not, it was Hobby Lobby. No, I'm pretty sure it was AC Moore. And it's a Nicole brush. It's a synthetic brush, so if it gets damaged, I'm not really, I don't care about it as much, because I'll just get another one eventually. But so far, I've been using it for many applications when it comes to glue and everything like that. And I find that as long as you care for your brush, that it'll last. It'll just last. Try not to get the ferrule, that's that metal part, inundated with any kind of material. You kind of just want to use the end of the brush. And again, be patient with it. I mean, slowly build it up and have fun. Because when I paint miniatures, it's like I'm bringing something to life, which is pretty cool for me, It's just that feeling of, hey, you know what, here goes something that looks plain Jane, I kind of want to add more and more layers and try not to overdo it. So here I am adding the kitty litter. Now, learning from my lesson here, again, I've never used kitty litter. This is the first time, and then I'm doing it on this for you. That you should have like some kind of bucket or something, I don't know, some kind of container to catch all the extra kitty litter, if not, it gets all over the place.
Alright, I do this to all the miniatures, and, all the bases. Here they are dried. And now I'm going to dry brush them. Again, I'm going to go for that grayish tone, starting with concrete slab. Just adding accents on there, just very carefully dabbing it on there. And I noticed that while I'm doing that, any loose pieces of kitty litter are coming up, which is great because when I first added the kitty litter, I thought maybe it was a little too much, and I was kind of nervous that I've overdone it, which is so easy sometimes for me to do because I kind of want to add layer. Oops, dropped it again. Gosh, I don't know how I do this, and I am so clumsy. Hey, there's a lesson. If you think that you can't do any of this, if I can do it and I'm like so clumsy, then it should be no problem for you. Really, no problem at all. Just remember, always dilute your paints, dilute your glue, dilute everything. The more you dilute, the better, except for when dry brushing, of course. And that's when you want to brush dry. Dilution does not help you in that one. But, the thing is that my first miniature is absolutely hideous. Really, absolutely hideous. I saw miniatures at a store. I was in Manhattan when I lived in New York. And I think the place was called A Complete Strategist. Oh, man. And the guy, I forgot his name, behind the counter, he had this case full of miniatures, and I told him I paid $100, $200 just for one of his miniatures, and he said not for sale. And then if I wanted to learn how to paint miniatures, that he has all the materials for me, so I can be better at it. And since my first miniature, I've just improved slightly, learning things, and experience have taught me how to do this. So, it wasn't overnight. Technically, I took a 10-year hiatus, and I was painting for about 3 years, so I would say 13 years. Although I don't count the 10 years, right? But I came back to it and, learned how to use the airbrush. There was frustrating moments, and there was very rewarding moments with that. And learn how to dry brush and learn all these techniques. And now I'm learning how to record videos on YouTube and share it with you guys, my love for this stuff, my passion. And I'm just being honored. So everybody starts from somewhere. Okay, so after I dry brushed everything, there it is. I'm going to try to flock this with a little static grass. Static grass I got from GeForce 9, I think it's called. Gale 9. I got it at my local hobby shops. And guys, support your local hobby shops. Really. It's the way the hobby grows. And, you can get stuff on Amazon and websites and stuff like that. But without the hobby shop, the hobby just will start passing on, and you kind of want to have a community where you can share your miniatures with in person, and hopefully go for awards. Now, I hope to one day go for an award. Bronze is what I'm hoping for, and that's my biggest dream. If I can get a bronze, a crystal brusher or something like that, and that's from Cool Mini or Not, awesome website. If you haven't seen that, check that out. And they give awards. I want to go to some of these conventions and travel and really enter my stuff. And it would be really cool if I walked away with a bronze one day. I don't know. I'd probably be like one of those big saps crying, because 13 years in the making, I've been dreaming about this. So that would be really, really awesome. I have a statue out here in Maryland now. So here I am, just dabbing glue. I don't want to overwhelm it. I just want to put a little grass here and there, spotting it. I want the rocks to show through. I kind of want to like that abandoned graveyard kind of look, and and some overgrowth here and there, just scattered, really. And the dry brushing, while I dry brush the kitty litter and everything like that, I kind of want to have a cohesiveness. Like, to me, nothing's worse that if you have like painted miniature and then you have like regular rocks. Like, it just doesn't look right. Like, if you paint the rocks and the miniatures using the same sort of paint, out of that same consistency, it kind of makes everything flow together. The only thing I don't paint are well, this one right here. I do not paint the grass itself. So there's that. So I mean, we're really nearing the end here, and I mean, it's looking really great. I'm gonna have the big reveal coming up next, and I do have a surprise guest, one Garett Adkins, which is an amazing composer, helped me do this reveal by including music, and I have music in the background. So enjoy the reveal. There is your miniature. Now that concludes the Spirit Host from start to finish. It took me about 2 to 3 weeks to finish up the entire series, but I'm a slow painter, so I just take my time and I paint whenever I get a chance to, and to relieve stress. So I really hope you like this video. If you do, give me that like, hit that subscribe button, and share with friends, anybody who's interested in painting miniatures. If I can help out the community, I'm more than happy to. Alright, we'll see you next time on the Miniatures Paintbrush.